Hello everyone, welcome back to the EPIC46 with Intel Valorant tournament brought to you by Asus Republic of Gamers, Overclockers UK and XP Pro Eyewear. We're back again with the group stage, carrying this on and hopefully seeing a more clear road and path of the teams getting into our bracket stage. I'm Shiba, joined by Sovereign again. It's DeltaX Esports against 5 and Drive.
Yeah, very much so. Both these teams currently don't have any actual wins. 5 and Dry have a bye win, which means that they are in slightly better standing in Group B, I believe.
Yeah.
And 5 and Drive, they started their first game quite convincingly. It was a loss, but it was an 11-13 loss to Team Coalesce, who we've all seemingly ranked quite highly. And then they seem to drop the ball and go 0-13 versus Control Esports. Now, we know that Control, I think we kind of talked about it in between the breaks. Control is a very strong roster, but to go from an 11-13 performance to 0-13 is odd. So perhaps we're not sure what occurred during that.
Yeah, that's the question mark for me about this 5 and Drive team, is that on paper they look great, and statistically they have shown some really good provenance. You know, going 11-13 against reigning champions of Epic is not an easy feat, and I think for DeltaX they have to be a little intimidated, especially considering the difference in experience and quality they have at Epic. A couple of their players did play for the likes of Clovert Manana at EPIC43, and unfortunately they did get grouped. But one habit I know of DeltaX is that they are Division 2 VUKC champions, and they have a habit of banning split. They love banning split. So let's get into the videos and see if that pattern stays the same. Indeed it is. Split ban there from DX, and on top of that, you've got the rest of the bans coming through with Haven as the decider. Again, this is a map that we've seen DeltaX leave open in their previous events in other tournaments, like VUKC Division 2. So to see that still stick around is good to know. Going to be a comfort point for DeltaX, hopefully, and that's going to... I'd hope to think make this closer than what may be seen on paper. So I think 5 and Drive are a very intimidating team, and although they have a little bit of a, contradictory track record in this tournament so far, it's a middle ground that hasn't necessarily been proven to be met yet by DeltaX. So maybe this could be the recipe for a really close match, or we could see a one-sided one in favor of the 5 and Drive. The 5 and Drive by slaying here could be a potential thing. But we're going to be into Haven, and yeah. I'm curious on how DeltaX will adapt to this, especially knowing that they have a map that they're very comfortable on.
Yeah, that's fair. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Haven is a free site map.
Oh, yeah.
The only one currently in the pool now, given the recent changes. Yeah. Do you think that's going to play a massive role to either side in terms of how they want to play, or it won't be a massive effect?
Haven is a map that has a very strange but very sporadic style. It's very... very hit and run based. So for example, it's very easy for you to claim early space and then back away. It's also very rotation heavy, but some teams like to either go for very hard site hits as a collective, or play very fast paced kind of split lurky setups. And this is actually the binarity that we're seeing with both these teams now. DeltaX running the Yoru and the Neon together, both agents that are very strong on the rotation, Neon especially very, very strong on Haven. But 5 and Drive, they're going with literally the textbook traditional composition here. This was the OG 2023 meta composition, where you run double initiator with Sova, Breach, Jet, and either Cypher or Killjoy with Omen on the smokes. Omen still being a really strong control on this map, despite the nerfs to his near sight and range. Yoru still being around is interesting, and Neon coming still in despite the nerfs. I'm surprised to not see fully committing Jet play from this DeltaX team. But to not see that is not the worst thing. You still have double duelist, and you've still got Bronze on his signature Sova, who I think is probably the most well-known name on this team. He's been around at Epic quite a while. Tricky alongside him, generally playing quite a bit, and so I'm hoping to see still some good gameplay from this team. I think 5 and Drive just show some very scary results, and you know, going 11-13 against Coalesce, who are the reigning champions of Epic, and then just getting completely mopped the floor by Control, makes things very questionable on how strong this team really is in firepower, and if DeltaX can compete, because being Division 2 VUKC champions is a decent title to have, but you are against teams that are regular competitors at Division 1. Good competitors at Division 1 at that. So, you know, the best of the lower tier against the generally mid of the pack, high of the higher tier, should immediately give you a general idea of who you should predict to win this one.
I concur, and I think looking at 5 and Drive's team comp as well. Like you said, it was kind of the traditional, old school. This is how you used to do it back in the day kind of vibe. I kind of favour that kind of take because we look back to the last game we casted where it was Wash My Belly's very sort of trying to rely on this very high tempo, get in first, get kills, and get back out. Not executed well, but their opponents were able to. And as we sort of get in, not enjoy a tricky already with 2 kills off the bat on DeltaX. And maybe we're going to see a repeat of the previous game that we watched. Mats finds 1, Zir finds a refrag, Tricky takes 1 onto Zir, and it's a 3v1 now as Senshu finds 1 on the spoon, and Not Enjoyer takes him down for a trade. That was sudden, quick, violent.
I got jump scared by a 1-tap from the Neon there. I mean, I got no clue, man. Let's hope Five and Drive are not allergic to nuts, because otherwise they're going to be dealing with a lot of issues on this Neon.
Yeah, it's going to certainly be that.
That was a lightning fast round going through. Getting jump scared.
I think it's a good way for DeltaX if they're going to set the tempo, and like we said, they've got their 2 duelists versus Five and Drive's 1. They've got it. It's the onus is on them to try and start setting this tempo and really bring the fight to Five and Drive and kind of show that they belong to be here, even though they come from lower stock.
Definitely the underdogs in this series, Delta, and they've had a great start, honestly. Tricky with a good pick onto Zia here. It's a bit of an eco round, but it looks like they are going to try and fight en masse, but this is just great oppressive attack from this DeltaX retake team, and Not Enjoy with the flanks on the Stinger, on the Spectre is just perfect. And although Valiant Temper 5 and Drive getting 2 kills, it's not going to be too damaging for the economy of DeltaX.
I'm out of here.
5 and Drive seemingly not ready to meet this kind of pace that DeltaX want to bring.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it a lot. That Not Enjoy went and got on that flank, takes 3 out as a result of it. It's promising, and I think this is what someone like Wash My Belly wanted to do. And we're kind of seeing at least early signs of a very hopeful, high-tempo, aggressive push from the side of DeltaX. Not Enjoy here, kind of peeking around and that's the thing, getting that early info, pulling back and getting like, do I have an easy swing or not? I think that's quite important on the side of their Zir. Looking over, trying to see whether or not there's any route into A. Shensu finds the first one onto Matt. And that's first blood for Five and Drive, and I think it's their first blood the whole series so far.
They did get 2 kills on the. Kills on the pistol in the second round, but this is a good opening pick for them. I think what's important here is how Delta respond to this. Although their economy is a little low, it does seem like they might try and take some one-on-ones, and that's what they like to do in the pistol round as well. So this could repeat itself, even if they have the inferior weaponry. The question is whether or not they can get this timing right, because Five and Drive are playing this very slow. They're taking their time. They're hoping that somebody ekes out a little bit of extra greed. And Owen's presence here and information that he's getting is really huge. Once Spoon is going to be located here, A will 100% be committed here, because the Cypher's 100% guaranteed to be on that C site. And that is where the commit is soon going to be initiated.
Very much so. Now it seems like the collapse is happening. Winch finds 1 onto Not Enjoy, not able to enjoy the same success that he had last round. And Tricky trying to go through the smoke, but is blindsided by Zir. Zir holding on, looking for another kill. A bit windy on the spray. Spoon gets away with his life. Take a bit of tick damage onto Zir. But Spike is planted.
Guys don't really have any fear of these guys. You can see Shensu moving up and just gladly taking these fights alongside the Jet. And I think this is a good tell for the confidence that Five and Drive and DeltaX still have against each other. But they know of this Odin from Rons, and I think the one thing they really don't want to do right now is just feed Rons a lot of kills. It's better to play together with that wide swing. At least sacrificing 1 will guarantee yourself that pick and take away that Odin presence, and that is a really good round there for DeltaX to get themselves that opening pick. And for Five and Drive, although it's unfortunate that you lost that Odin, your economy is still in a decent spot. You may need to do some half buys if you willingly invest this. It has to be well executed, because if you lose this, your economy will be in tatters, and it does seem like that is the objective. Five and Drive, they're going to be just fully committing to the buy as much as they can and focusing around this B and A presence area, because last time DeltaX, they played very slowly, and they played for a lot of baiting, trying to see if they can find the presence of somebody greeting out for a pick, as Five and Drive were doing initially, right?
Yeah.
I must wait.
It looks like it's the same deal this time, with Not Enjoyer instantly taking an opening fight.
Seems we're shifting over towards either a B or an A sort of push, and we're starting to gather all the intel here on the side of DeltaX. Tricky, you can see and hear that Shensu's Odin and
That's
Spoons.
just reckless.
Good swing by him to take that Odin off the board. And now he begins to press back. He's got his kill, he's done his job, he doesn't need to do anything more, and I think that's maybe part of the discipline of 5 and Drive, wanting to pull black now.
Now that presence of the angle is a bit off, you may need to hold a bit of an off angle for Owen to be able to contest back. That swing from Spoon, very audacious, but also reckless of Shensu to just spam willy-nilly without any type of fear. But Spoon, generally speaking, being very brave in that, right? You have that Cypher setup locked in for C. If you are down, C is instantly the pick that you're going into, right? I think that's the fair point going in. The engage onto the A site here from Zir has taken down Nuttenjoy and so claimed the full site, but again, no hesitation from 5 and Drive. They're getting multiple picks of their own, and that's left to Winch on his own.
Winch on his own, seeing what he can get in terms of exit frags, finds one onto Mats, is scanned by the utility, so they know where he is, and it's now down to 5 and Drive to kind of collapse and get this. Winch gets one onto Tricky, and now health advantage, Spike is going plant. No.
Almost perfectly played there from Winch. That float smoke is really good for jump scaring somebody, getting a pick, and also one-waying them as they flow down. It's a really good way of isolating one pick at the very least. I think Mates's timing on that was a little off. Just missing that the flood out from backside was missed, and so kind of caught with his pants down. That led to a pretty convincing end to the round there, unfortunately, despite Mates being very close. But seems like a small tech pause has been initiated here from production, so we'll have to wait and see what that goes down. Hopefully it's a quick one, because
I imagine so.
I want to see this one.
I imagine so. And I mean, we haven't had any tech pauses yet, as far as I'm aware, at least on the Valorant side of things so far, so all being good. 5 and Drive, 3-1 up, if I remember the scoreboard correctly. They seem to be wanting to take those fights and apply the pressure to DeltaX. Now, it's not quite as wishy-washy as the game we had last time, but I'm curious to see whether or not 5 and Drive can continue this kind of aggressive push as we go back into game, and see whether or not they can make the most of their sort of team comp, and whether or not they can keep bringing the fight to DeltaX.
Yeah, I think what I like about 5 and Drive is that DeltaX are the ones that are taking the fights to them. They are walking in very quickly, but DeltaX are very patient. But once they choose to be aggressive, they are very much willingly going in all guns blazing. I think it's a very calculated type of strategy that they're going for. 5 and Drive being 3-1 up, they're clearly making the most of this mechanical ability that they have with these two duelists willingly taking space. But DeltaX, like, they're careful, right? They're not allowing too much room to be taken, despite playing slow, despite not claiming too much space, still being cautious of the push-ups. And they're respecting the mechanical individuals here of 5 and Drive. And I think, considering they're not willingly claiming a lot of space up from A, and how much Mates and Nuttenjoy have pushed up already, Owen is going to be walking into what could be a really scary double swing. But look at this. With noise being made and the Blade Storm initiated, DeltaX are waiting for this overzealousness. And maybe even going to be using a trap play for this.
Very much so. Jet's already got her knives out, misses the first one. They must know about the... Ooh.
That's 1, 2. The crossfire, the bait taken away. Well disciplined there from Zir. Still got more to deal with. Once off the flank, Tricky takedown Zir. It's a back to 3-3.
I wasn't convinced that Zir was going to make that. He wasn't aware of them. Bronze finds one of the General Radan. Tricky finds one onto Shensu. And now it's all down to the hands of Winch once again. 3v1. Winch nearly won his last 1vx. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But the onus is very much on him.
They didn't hear that he cancelled in close range. He can hear all the rotations. This is devious from Winch. Surely you don't plant. No way.
He's going to have to. So
he's got like 15 seconds. He could have maybe greeted up. His TP lands. Dimensional Drift invested so early here from Tricky. There's no way Winch catches this. No way.
They don't know. They don't know.
There is no way.
Winch finds one onto Ron's. Sloppy cover from the rear, knowing that this man can teleport. They might have to commit to stick and cover. There's only one. Oh, very nearly getting taken off by Tricky.
No, it's off. Comes the blind. Tricky on that off angle. Isolated, but well placed from Tricky.
So close. Very, very close. And I think, I don't know about you, and I know he had time. I felt that planting was maybe the right call, and he nearly pulled it off. There was sloppy cover from the side of 5 and Drive. And, you know, he takes that fight, wins it, then it's only the Cypher left to defuse. Cypher has to pick between defusing and making the kill and sticking it. Timeout made by DeltaX. I assume this is a team timeout where they're going to try and talk things through, trying to figure out what's going wrong.
I think for me, the timing of the plant is kind of guaranteeing that your position is going to be stuck at A. DeltaX were 5 and Drive were very uncertain on whether or not they were locked into A or not, because you saw them all frantically rotate. It could have been very easily so that once most of the team was wiped, once the third was down, maybe the fourth, they could have easily assumed that the Omen just quickly rotated all the way to C to grab the TP. Usually that is how you play it. So with that close attempt from Winch to just barely take away that audio cue, it gives them a lot of timing and loads of map control. And I think if you were to plant, the range of the sound cue when you plant is so loud, it just guarantees that you are stuck on A, and that takes away that mystery. If you were to like lurk up on B for just a second, if just a little bit, just to guarantee at least maybe one peak of contact, one opportunity to lower the numbers, then plant, it could have been a different story. But I do understand that, you know, under that pressure with 60 seconds left, you don't want to spend forever searching. You don't want to give away your position by running to try and find a peak. So it still worked out as an attempt regardless. But for example, like, you took away that dimensional drift from Tricky so early. And so that's one big plus. And Ninjoya onto Zir, not even a slight semblance of fear coming in on the Sheriff, but the Hunter's Fury exchanging from both sides will give the numbers a slight lowering overall in the lobby. Still one in favor of DeltaX though, as Owen doesn't seem to be privy to Spoon at all. He's caught.
3v3 now in the round, and it seems that there was a lack of awareness there on the side of Spoon. Zir looking to catch someone on A. Cypher trying to find and locate anyone that he can. Zir using the mobility to get out of a tricky spot. Shensu going to plant the spike. A lot of nice objective play in these past couple of rounds. And now it's down to 5 and Drive to kind of take this back out of them.
Scanned by the drone the moment he hits the flash. Tricky can't really take advantage of the good timing of the ad there. Paranoid being thrown out could change things. Spoon on the flank too.
Spoon gets one, checking his corners, but cannot win that fight against which Zir takes out Tricky.
Well played from Zir. Very well played. Using that Outlaw to his advantage, and on top of that, just using that dash for info to guarantee the last member is huge. I think Spoon had a much bigger opportunity there to secure the kills, but he was a little quick on the trigger. Granted, still smooth, still decent discipline. Had he just waited a little longer, you would have been able to cover the Omen from hell. Grab that pick and then get the second. Would have been so quick. The weaponry is not ideal, but even then, it seems like 5 and Drive and DeltaX are both very sharp shooters.
It very much seems so, and it seems to be a lot tighter, and I think I had a sneaky suspicion it was going to be a little bit tighter, as Zir is already looking to kind of take this early advantage for their side on DeltaX. Doesn't find anything, pulls back into the relative safety near his teammate. And I think that's what is refreshing to see, is that it's controlled aggression. They're going out, trying to make these early swings, seeing what they can grab, and if not, Tricky having to face a free stack here.
Timing is so rough from Tricky. I cannot believe you can get away with something like that.
That was unideal on the side of Tricky, just swung by 3 members of DeltaX. And now they have the man advantage and are looking to capitalize and pushing towards the C area.
Oh, how comes the overdrive too?
Owen takes out Spoon, Zir takes out Rons, Nut and Joy onto General Radan, Shensu finds one onto Nut and Joy, and Zir cleans it all up on mats. And that's another round for DeltaX. A small little string of little victories that they seem to be winning.
Yeah.
On the trot. So this could be the beginning of a bit of a momentum swing.
Yeah, I think Tricky's timing was really unfortunate, and considering the fact that you also managed to establish a bit more of a threat control through Garage by Zir breaking that trip, it adds a little bit more of a fear factor and forcing 5 and Drive to stick around a little bit longer than they want to on those other sites in case there's a rotation. But once Tricky was taken down, DeltaX were not hesitating on going for that commit along the rotate. And despite the valiant effort there, the Neon ultimate just went to waste. Their overdrive not really able to be used well at all, and Spoon going out a little too late on the swing on his own, unable to be traded because of the site smoke. It stings. It really does sting.
It seems DeltaX are starting to maybe shift their approach. Not necessarily. They're still probing, they're prodding, and they've got their Cypher down towards the back end, watching for any kind of flank. Zir in the middle of the utility doesn't see Spoon. Winch finds a refrag though. Tricky finds onto Winch. Tricky finds 2 and puts the numbers in favour of 5 and Drive as it's 4v2, 4v1.
Wow, I thought Mata was a sitting duck there. You got Shensu on his own now, shot in the corner. Initially you were thinking, hey, with that good TP it could have worked out, but not this time. On the bodies as well, some talk being shared, some smack maybe.
Quite possibly.
Some good anchoring there generally from 5 and Drive, just sticking around, being able to get the picks without too much fear of playing heavy retake. And I think that's interesting considering the composition that they have. They have a lot of utility that they can use to just hard spam that retake. And granted, so do DeltaX, but it's definitely strong on the side of 5 and Drive. You have not only Paranoia, Dart, Shocks, you have Yoru Flash, which is a huge asset in comparison to the rest that you have here. It's so much more difficult to dodge that flash compared to the Breach Flash, and I think that's the difference breaker here with that composition in terms of the retake ability, especially because of the Neon movement too. But with the new round coming in, 5-3 for 5 and Drive, still making this close, and it's another slow, methodical default here from Delta.
And I think it's paying. Maybe it's not going to pay them that dividends. The Spoon's got the Overwatch, forces Shensu to back off, and you've got a question maybe. Owen finding one onto Tricky. You've got a question. Will this slow and methodical approach work? And I mean, at the current, it is. They've managed to find that early pick onto one of the duelists for 5 and Drive, one of their key points. So they've now only got 1 duelist left and 1 player down overall. So DeltaX have all the time in the world to kind of establish the positions of 5 and Drive and decide where they want to commit.
They play frustratingly slow, I can imagine, for 5 and Drive. They want contact, they want to be able to brawl. They're too afraid of committing to this space because they know how disciplined DeltaX are in holding these angles. A bit of a haymaker of a dart there from Rons, but doesn't seem like it's pushing up back Zir at all. Paranoia from back of B, landing and slowing down the push, gives Rons a chance for another kill. Look at this position from Spoon. Got jump peek through the smoke. He's noted. And so he just needs to try and get one. What is this TP from Matters? That had to have been an error, surely. What was that? That was a round-ending mistake. I mean, surely there was a chance with the 4v2 being winnable, but I guess position being a bit too compromising for Spoon. Big error there from 5 and Drive, but
Did they even know that Spoon was in the middle of that smoke?
they didn't until they had someone jump peek through the smoke and not commit to the fight.
That was the thing. I wasn't sure whether or not he made a mistake by shooting maybe a touch too early, and maybe making some kind of advantage and allow the Omen to make their teleport maybe a touch more effective, collapse on the remaining 3 players together, and make something of it, as it were.
Yeah. This drone slow to clear out the rest of C, but with no notes coming in, it's because 5 and Drive are looking to go all guns blazing out through mid with this eco. It's an unconventional attempt here. Owen privy to the fact of it, but not really able to do anything about it. Overwhelmed by Rons and the numbers. Spoon caught off by Shensu though. That utility being dodged too. 5 and Drive are careful, even though they still want to commit, claim that space, and that they do.
Ron's finding getting rid of that obstacle in Shensu. Now they can begin to progress up towards C and attempt this retake. Zir trying to stall as much as they can, and Rons and Winch both finding kills apiece.
That was a great Hunter's Fury there. Catches out Zir off of the info that given to him from Tricky. And the defusing from Night Enjoyer. He's sticking the spike, and nobody can do a thing about it except spam! But they can't land it! And it's a thrifty for 5 and Drive. No way! The massive aggro push. DeltaX respected it too much. Not as aware of the info because of how pushed back they were. This time, their biggest trait in this map so far has led them to their death.
It was the fact that the spray hit a couple of the bullets and they did hit the diffuser as well. At that point in time, that's your biggest priority, is just forcing that. Even if you know you're going to get swung, I feel that the 5 and Dry players should have just committed to trying and taking down that diffuser. Even if you just have to make this very wayward,
he only had one guy, and the reason why he stayed back was because it was actually spammable from the angle. He was able to spam through the smoke, but he just wasn't able to land the shots in time, and he was also scared of that push coming through from window. So I think that was what made him hesitate so much. On top of the fact that he was just alone, right? Ron's just alone up through long, grabs his one. He's got He's been just caught out, man.
Tricky finds one and kicks this back into the favour of 5 and Drive in terms of kills. Little bit of tick damage onto Shenzhou.
North have to use. Cage triggered. Triggering, getting all that information down here onto DeltaX. Plant being confirmed too, a trip being placed. This is a strong lockdown coming in. Dimensional Drift invested. Maybe the clone pop to break the drone too, but not the case.
They know that Max is here. He tried to fake that TP, but they weren't falling for it and took him out. Shenzhou and General Radan taking those kills up, and now DeltaX. Tricky, trying to get one.
Trip broken. I mean, Shenzhou needs help. Shenzhou been kind of stuck in this corner for so long, and this recommit from DeltaX a bit slow, but the time is ticking down, and Tricky can only do so much here. It's good discipline here from DeltaX. Very much being patient, allowing the spike timer to go down. Gets them at that 5th round. Maybe now 6-6 half is on the cards here.
Spend what you got.
Last round now left. Financially, 5 and Drive not looking too privy here. Matters not having the best series, but being 2 orbs away from his ultimate. Could be good for an endgame round, but it's really splitting hairs, to be honest.
It's unfortunate to see 5 and Drive's 2 duelists in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, of course, especially with the style that they're running. Just makes things difficult.
And it seems to be their wing con as well. As Zir...
Almost catching Zir. They're running away, they're not coming to the space here.
No, they took the chip damage and left. Tricky on the other hand. Finds one of Shenzhou. Zir does find that refrag. There we go.
Yeah. He peeks out too much. Making himself be given away to window. It stings, man. Getting that opening pick with the Guardian and the inferior weaponry. You've got more attempts here from Not Enjoy to catch out. Zir, and he gets him. That's the numbers in favor of 5 and Drive.
Discipline paying off for Not Enjoy, knowing that I can get this. It nearly cost him his own life when peeking that Marshall, but it paid off in the end, and it's 4v3 on the side of 5 and Drive. And they seem to have quite a solid lock down on B, and they have oversight onto A. I imagine they know that DeltaX are going to want to push C, as they're slow walking their way up towards Winch leading the way. And I wonder if this is going to be a fast commit. That camera, though.
Rip. This will be caught out, slightly revealed, but only Owen's peak confirmed. The rest being out too. This looks to be potentially a bingo call here from 5 and Drive as they want to go into this retake.
They're gonna have to commit to this though. DeltaX is just gonna have to get this plant and stick it, and that they've done as they try and find positions, set up these crossfires, and just fight for their lives, I suppose, because the health advantage is also in 5 and Drive.
Oh, he could have been caught out there. But now they know the off angle that he's on. Potential of the reposition. General Radman has not been checked here from Spoon, and he still falls. It's still 5 and Drive to live through it. It's Not Enjoy with the 3rd as well. That's the defuse coming in, and that's 7 for 5 and Drive. No equalizer this time.
It was a good retake. They said to DeltaX, come on in. We know where you're going. Take it. Then we'll deal with that as and when. And I think that worked out for them in favour. Yeah, I enjoy it. I think I enjoy... You're in it, especially if you feel like you've got the advantage, you are the better team, is allowing that weaker team, like, we want you to take this site specifically.
Yeah.
You come and take it, then we're going to deal with you afterwards.
Yeah. With this new half being played now, I'm really curious on how DeltaX will adapt with this new composition, with this old composition being changed so much in terms of balance. I think you've got Breach, Sova, and Omen all with really significant nerfs to their kits. And it's really clear that these guys are very much going with comfort picks, which, generally speaking, at least for me, at this state, is not ideal. You want to be able to adapt and play your own comfort roles. Right now, it's one of the most volatile patches in the game. Play your comfort agents, play who you know you can excel on individually, and figure out how to work as a team later on. Unless they've practiced something already, which, in my mind, I don't think so, considering the comps that they're running. This comp is very much an adapted comfort composition that 5 and Drive themselves are running. And with the contacts being done, an early pick from Tricky on the Yoru, with the rest of DeltaX also going down by 1, it's a 3-on-4 retake scenario with decent util in use. However, the question is on whether or not they have the paranoia and any flashes left here for Delta to retake with. See 2 members creeping up through garage, and soon the battle will ensue.
I'm not overly sure that DeltaX quite clearly.
Ooh.
Winch comes in and finds 1, is refragged by Not Enjoy. Not Enjoy finds a second. Zir with 2, 1v1, but the spike is down, and very much pressuring him.
Scanned as well, guaranteed to not be on the spike. Ron's so disciplined here. It's excellent from Ron's. Clean and surgical for 5 and Drive. Using the drone when it matters. Guaranteeing that the round is theirs. If it has to be by time, that's how it will be. This, you can see there's a slight inch of nerves there, being so insisting on that peak to commit to the fight. Trying to do what he knows he can do best. He's one weight off, he's scanned, he has to fight, but he doesn't push up, and that is where the nerves lead to an error in play. In that scenario, run up and just take him. You may have time, you may not, but it's better than being stalled out to death where you can't do a thing.
Yeah, I think I agree, and it seems there's an early engagement already. Zir leading the way, wants to, flashes back.
Too.
A lot of commitment of the utility to kind of blunt this Zir push, and drone clone.
He is getting oppressed by Util here.
Very good way of blunting that sort of forced push of DeltaX. I think they're trying to make something happen.
Just calm down, brother. Jeez. Oh my gosh.
Put me in a spin zone.
0-0 right there. I might get motion sick from watching him play. Oh my god, you can even see him on his like actual character model shaking so much. Oh my goodness. Got Owen. An attempt to be a little lucky and grab 1, but the inferior weaponry just won't help him. Only a classic in hand, not able to do much.
Spoon.
5 and Drive really should just be able to mop the floor with this. Only Zir with the Sheriff, who is really the big threat to worry about. Now in a 1v4, in close quarters combat against Spectres. Not really much you're going to be able to do here, except hope that you can land a good shot with a good timing. Tricky, almost being the first victim of that.
Bit windy, unable to find anything, unfortunately, as Not Enjoyer cleans it up. And it's a lot of pressure on Zir at that point. The 3v1 was already a big ask last round. That, I feel, is a large ask. And unfortunate, because we've seen that Zir, top of their team, is doing their job. I think you maybe need to start potentially pointing fingers at the rest of DeltaX and whether or not they're doing their jobs.
I think 5 and Drive were honestly doing a good job at snuffing out the aggression that Zir wanted to play into. I think DeltaX were trying to enable him with a little bit of util, but because they don't have that good weaponry, you don't want to burn cash on util that you are very unlikely to be winning on, right? And so that is the small caveat where you want to enable the guy on the worst weaponry, but you don't want to over-enable him to where it could just be the biggest waste and loss of money. And I think 5 and Drive, knowing that they need to stop this Zir guy from popping up and hitting heads, they just use everything they can. They're the richer team. Why not? Not Enjoyer instantly going in with a bomb on his and a satchel as well. Still not an ounce of fear as he manages to grab 1. DeltaX attempting desperately to try and even the numbers, but it seems like every time they get 1, 5 and Drive respond with another. And it's led to a 3-on-2. Where Tricky is bold, brazenly peeking into General Radmin, and Zir, next victim on the chopping block for Tricky. This is a 3K and double digits for 5 and Drive.
5 and Drive were playing the trade game, weren't they, at that point?
Yeah.
They knew full well, it's like, at that point it's a game of economics, of you get 1, we get 1, you get 1, we get 1. Like,
Good coordinated aggression.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think they have to worry about it too much as well. They seem to know we blunt Zir, stop them from taking space, getting picks, disrupting our game plan, and as soon as we've stopped that, we can start to kind of clean up, even through trade games. It doesn't matter if we let some of DeltaX. It's Not Enjoyer is already spraying and praying and getting 2 kills off the bat, and probably he's going to start feeling himself as they begin to reposition and look for more.
Bench. Attempting to make a one-on-one possible with the low money that they have. DeltaX are desperate. You know, once 5 and Drive get to 11, it's going to be very scary. When they get to 12, you are cooked. You have to force every single round, and they really don't want to allow that. Maybe even so with the inferior weaponry, just letting them go to 4, letting them go to 11, and get themselves that full buy. This is duo die straights now for DeltaX. They've shown good moments. They had a good half to start, but 4 in a row consecutively for 5 and Drive. It's clear how well together these two duelist aggressors are playing, and how well the Sova from Ronz is being enabling too. You've got good util being thrown out onto the sites, and Nightenjoy is just confident. Compared to DeltaX, where they feel so restricted in the comp that they're running, they don't feel nearly as confident individually. Zir, the only one who's really doing something of note with the picks and momentum that he's getting. But 5 and Drive know that, and they're very clear about it. They're not letting him get any space through it.
Very much not. And the timeout being taken by DeltaX, I imagine, is probably going to start trying to possibly address those issues that we've discussed throughout the series. I'm curious as to whether or not is this too late. I think I would have preferred to see this either after round 2 or after round 3 rather than after round 4, because at this point you're 11 and 5 and anything can happen. But the onus is very much on 5 and Drive, and unless this timeout has the intended effect of stopping 5 and Drive on their sort of momentum, and they figure out a way to kind of blunt Nightenjoy on this very hyper-aggressive duelist, just coming in and spraying down half of DeltaX, I don't know.
It's just a solid 3-person core 5 and Drive at the moment. And it's paying off. I mean, Nightenjoy is so confident. He's running Odin on Neon. This is ego. This is not something you would usually do on Neon. I'm telling you that right away. You do not usually run Odin on Neon. I think the reason partly why he's doing it is actually because he has that overdrive at his disposal. Spike in hand, again, it's just brazen. But he's confident enough and he'll do it. And he's good enough to prove why he's like that, right? So, big question is now is whether or not DeltaX can just get some confidence and get some chip on their shoulder. Because it feels like at the moment, Nightenjoy is really making them look allergic. Because I don't know how you can willingly on Neon run this Odin aggressively. And you've even got Spoon just in their backline for free. Like, how are they allowing this to happen? They're so closed up, they're so scared. And now with Dimensional Drift from Tricky, Shensu is on the chopping block.
So Spoon had an opportunity there but as you said, like Spoon had an opportunity to get that flank. Owen finds the first one onto Mats, which is good. That's a good start from DeltaX, and it puts the player count in their favour. As the utilities all starts to sort of collapse around this A site, the spike has been planted. So the onus now is on DeltaX to try and break through these sort of deadlocks and over.
Timing of the stun messes up Ziz's timing on the swing. It leads him to go for a slow, basic peek. You've got the Hunter's Fury to stop the flood as well. It's excellent here from 5 and Drive. But you still got the winners individually coming in from DeltaX. Some hope injected here. Scan coming through, tap in the shock dart is also going to be lethal, but General Radahin will at least snuff out that last pick from Runs. Timeout this time working in their favor. You still also have that Rolling Thunder in the possession as well. 5 and Drive also still have that overdrive off the Neon, with a couple ultimates soon to be, like Matiz's ultimate as well. Ultimate economy hugely in favor of DeltaX though. I think right now your goal, try and get those picks before these ultimates can be put in use, i.e. retakes. Go balls to the wall, get as many kills as you can, snuff out the breach if you can, and just guarantee yourself 12. That's the goal right now, because until you're at 12, you are not guaranteed to win this match.
Very much so, and I think it was a little bit sloppier than I think we both would have liked to see from DeltaX, but the team timeout working. Spoon finds the opening kill onto Zir, Winch finds one onto Spoon and evens the numbers back out. Curious that you trade the Cypher for your Duelist though.
Being said, Shensu is in trouble. Big trouble. Hit by the stun. Aggressive Nightenjoy one-on-one with the Odin. It's Shensu to win. But he's pinned.
He's pinned, and it seemed like a very panic spray. He's good for one. General Radan takes out Matez and puts the favor back into DeltaX's hands. Tricky finds one onto Winch, evens it back out. This trade game, ever so important, and now it's a matter of, I think, who's going to get the first kill.
That could have messed up your game big time. But thankfully, Radahin is there to back it up. Now playing together in unison, Tricky alone. waiting some sort of aggression, some sort of peak. The good thing is right now that they don't have to worry about fighting because you've got that rechargeable util on the stun off the fault line for the breach, and Radahin just charging, loading. And this is going to be a good retake tool because Tricky does not have any util. If he gets his one, he does have a gate crash, and that could be huge. If done wrong, it could backfire. Owen, 1 HP. With the cam confirming that he is backside. The stun misses though! Oh, he still loses the fight though. A good crouch pick from Owen. Locks it in.
There was a world that 5 and drive go up to 12, and I think that he had the health advantage. If he doesn't get crouch beat like that, I genuinely think 5 and drive are able to take that home, and Tricky's able to win it out from that position. Even though he missed his stun, I think General Radan has started contributing a lot more these two rounds. I think he's kind of started to maybe come alive, and I think maybe that's what the team timeout was about. It wasn't just, there's too much reliance on Zir, the rest of us need to pick up our game, and I think DeltaX is starting to take that to heart a bit and being like, okay, right, if we can play as a team, we might be able to get somewhere.
So some early spam. Not able to make a payoff, sadly. As he scanned up, seen running for the hills. They're privy of potential Cypher util here, but I think they're much more confident to just go for this plant straight away. And with that Rolling Thunder taken away, that's a big piece of utility. All that retake snuffed away. And this is going to make things very difficult. Hunter's Fury thrown out onto runs. He may get scanned, but he dodges it. No way. Runs. The fleet footwork pays off huge here for 5 and drive.
Manages to stick it, and Zir has her knives ready. And I imagine waiting for a crisp opportunity to use them. Winch finds one onto Spoon and puts the advantage in their favour, but they've still got to worry about this spike. General Radan finds one onto Max, Tricky finds one onto Zir, Shensu onto Runs, and Tricky finds one on Owen before Radan cleans up Tricky, and they begin the defuse.
They bring it back.
We might.
Winning just purely en masse with big numbers together. Well played. I think the timing of the scan, peeking off of that big scan afterwards, adding a little bit of extra fear factor for 5 and drive to not commit to those braver angles that guarantee themselves more fights is perfect here for DeltaX. 3 defuse rounds in a row, very successful retakes. End of the day, usually, generally speaking, you don't want to give A site to many teams at all. It's a very, very hard part of the map to retake on, but it seems to be paying off very well here for DeltaX. Going from 11-5 to 11-8 now. Things are starting to get scary here for 5 and drive. And they're still rocking the Odin here for Night Enjoyer. They're running double Odin. This is audacious.
I think they've got a. I think they're still confident in their ability. Unable to get anything and loses to Winch. I think if you're 5 and drive, you got to stop. You got to stop with the ego a little bit now.
For real, yeah.
Kind of. This maybe is your last round of mucking around.
Hey, Night Enjoyer getting a taste of his own medicine. We'll call it that.
Yeah, very much so.
But I think part of that is just what matters. You can't commit to having stuff like this so obsessively aggressive and honestly needless. You know, when you're on the Neon, you want to be running head first. And just having that stronger, faster weaponry to use. If you just have an Odin, you're just spamming out in the open, especially now that Zir has enough money for an Operator. They've won 3 rounds in a row. You are a sitting duck against an Operator with an Odin that far away. See long as, like, Operator, like, City. You can't be doing that.
Winch just keeping an eye on the potential push on towards C, and it seems they want to rotate off and look for opportunities in the other site.
A little bit of shit damage to the double door spam. What matters is essentially kind of keeping those doors broken so there's potential to be enabled later down the line, but there's only 30 seconds left. And the question is on how they do. Oh, look at this. Tricky TPing into back hell with this dimensional drift to confirm anybody pushed up close. And this gives 5 and drive huge, huge space onto the site. He may get scammed, but there's no util really to spam for him. You can't have Sova with that Odin spam through. The plant coming in with 7 seconds left, and it's locked in. Matez tagged a lot, beaten and bruised. Bang, getting spammed through. Drone denied. Big info taken away.
5 and drive. This is an opportunity for them to kind of lock down. Spoon gets their kill. Onto Shensu from up on high. Zir takes out Tricky. Spoon with 2 onto General Radan. 3v3, Mancout still there. Spoon's finally took down by Zir. Zir goes and hunts for more. Big jump over the utility. Trades himself out.
Runs! They lined up! He got 2, just like that.
Ooh, I think we heard them cry out.
Maybe we did. That was a perfectly timed lineup there for Rons. And what looked like initially like kind of a tomfoolerous round. How on earth does Zir not die there after being scanned out in the open, in the sky, behind cover, like in front of a smoke where your enemy team can see you and you can't? No idea how he lives that. Spoon as well, just, I guess, trying to feed off of this momentum that he had off of those 2 opening picks, but going too far and giving his team a numbers disadvantage because of the greed. Almost backfires massively, but it pays off just purely thanks to one single timing and position from Runs.
Very much so. And I think now we're seeing Not Enjoy has a Vandal. I imagine they just want to close this out now. I think they're that
money
close
either.
now.
I think they can afford it.
Yeah.
I think one thing as well is that Not Enjoy has not used his overdrive this whole half. We haven't seen him use it one time.
I imagine it probably comes out now if they want to try and close this up and get the win over DeltaX.
Or a C push, yeah, for sure. Just Fury out. Winch again. This guy, one of the strongest players on this team, is still acting up. Not letting Drive get near this site. The top box of C is on his land, his territory. And with him finally falling, it just runs with Matez in a 2v4. It's winnable.
Certainly winnable, and I think Winch has really stepped up here as sort of this big anchor in keeping, especially that C site covered. We've normally seen him there just trying to look after it and taking what he can out of it. And this aggressive push-up by Rons and Mats. Gets 1, gets 2. 3.
Rons. No way! No way, Rons! You can't do that at the very end! What on earth was that? I mean, given that momentum of the round before, right? But this time it was even more incredible, honestly. Back and forth, getting a very clean surgical pick onto Zir with that operator. He usually wants to get that pick, back away, and then re-peek that in with a much more aggressive swing momentum. But no, not this time. Rons just peeks out, grabs that, and full confidence recommits that fight against the 2-member swinging from Garage. Not an ounce of fear. Huge confidence from arguably the strongest player in this lobby.
Very much so, and you've got to give it to Drive that, especially in that last round when they stopped. I think when they stopped trying to play with ego, they were far more formidable.
Yeah.
We know their talent. We know that we can see that on the scoreboard. We can see that in the plays. That they obviously have the talent. I think when they stopped messing around, to put it lightly, with things like the Odin on their 2 duelists, they were able to perform a lot more. And we saw in that last round, they won that 2v4. Arguably, they were surrounded by the side of DeltaX. DeltaX could have easily, with 4 players, all committed to double swings, 1 player each, they win the trade game. That's how that should have worked. But they played smart. Drive went, took the fight to 2 people first before they even made it around the corner. Get 1, get 2. Yes, you lose your teammate in it. And then it's just sublime from Rons.
Matters and Rons had no choice in that scenario because the Neuro that just procced. And that gives away the position fully, gives full reason for Delta to just run down and run them over. That's why they went into that aggression. That's why they went to the double pick. Get those numbers before your position is revealed, and they can take advantage of it. And it worked out beautifully for them. I think Rons is just individually really strong. And what's funny is that you mentioned the double swings. DeltaX did double swing Rons. They did. They double swung from Garage, and then you had Spoon or the other Cypher just walking into backside to try and catch him if he was to peek back off of getting 1. That was the plan. And it backfired, not really because they necessarily made a wrong call, but because they missed the shots when it mattered, and Rons is built different. That was how it worked, and that was how it ended.
Rons performed immaculately well, I have to say. I think he really did help.
Great trio from 5 Drive. You know, got Not Enjoy tricky on the double duelist, just being really sharp shooters and very brave and willingly taking those fights. And then you have Rons, who's not only enabling them with great util usage, but also just being generally himself a really strong player, great shooter. And that pays off huge for 5 Drive. And that in turn gives them a really dominating win over a team that initially at the start of the first half looked to be formidable.
It looked far more competitive at the start, and then there was that trick of 4 towards the end that DeltaX were able to string together. All those objective play retakes, I believe.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they weren't playing poorly. It was just that it's like you said at the start. They're cut from 2 different bits of cloth.
Yeah.
In terms, 5 Drive seems to be the better team. They are above them. They've performed better. They're in better circuits. I think from DeltaX, you had General Redan kind of pick up his slack towards the end.
Yes.
That I think a lot of those players did. Winch, especially as well, acting as that really big anchor. I think it was just a shame that during the first half of the series, you didn't have those players showing up. It was all reliant on Zir, their only duelist, to try and make the space, try and get these kills and put them in advantageous positions.
Yeah, and I think on top of that as well, you notice that 5 and Drive will starting to win their rounds again once they willingly chose to commit extra space after the plant went down. Before, they were playing heavy post-plant, chilling in their angles because they know how present they can be on A. They said, you know what, A post-plant doesn't work. Let's just go C and commit extra space and take more fights. And it paid off. It won them the rounds. What initially seemed like an incoming return from DeltaX ended up being snuffed out very quickly once 5 and Drive realized what they wanted to fix up. And that's how they won the series. That's the match between this. Honestly, a good match to say. I can't lie. I'm very happy to see that go down. I was really scared that it was going to be one-sided, but it wasn't the case. DeltaX really put up a good fight. But that's going to be it from us for now. We got another best of 1 coming up very soon for groups. But until then, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with another match very, very soon. Best of 1s for group stages. EPIC46 is not done yet.